What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. Let's get started with some Jets offensive coordinator news. They have interviewed a few candidates. I mentioned yesterday they interviewed the Cowboys tight ends coach for whatever reason. Lunda Wells, I think is the dude's name. I said before, it sounds like a fake name. Don't no idea who that is. They have also now interviewed Darrell Bevell, the Bills quarterbacks coach Ronald Curry, Frank Reich, and Greg Roman. Like, what are we doing? Like, Darrell Bevell, to go over his resume, his first offensive coordinator job was with the Green Bay Packers, soon with the Minnesota Vikings in 2006. He was there from 06 to 2010. He was Seattle's offensive coordinator for 7 seasons from 2011 and 2017. Who knows if it was really him, if it was Pete Carroll, if it was Russell Wilson, but he was the OC when Seattle ran that play at the goal line, didn't give the ball to Marshawn Lynch. So that might have been him who called the play. Then he was the Lions offensive coordinator from 2019 to 2020 for about 2 seasons. He was the interim coach in 2020 when Matt Patricia got fired. Wasn't very good. He was the OC in Jacksonville in the Urban Meyer year, was the interim head coach for them after Meyer got fired midseason. And he's been the quarterbacks coach in Miami for the last 4 seasons under Mike McDaniel. I mean, he's not a very good offensive coordinator. I don't know why he's being interviewed for this position. Ronald Curry is their Bills quarterbacks coach. I mean, he's got Josh Allen. Now over here, he's going to have whoever the hell they just bring in. I don't see him having a lot of success. Frank Reich is probably, he seems to be the favorite. There was rumors that they were looking to bring him in even before they fired Tanner Engstrad. Apparently, he's the favorite for the job. Reich was an offensive coordinator for the Eagles a while back. Then was a head coach of the Colts for a few years. Had some success there. Gets fired midseason a few years ago. A couple years ago, ends up getting a job with the Carolina Panthers as their head coach. Didn't even let it last a full season. That was Bryce Young's rookie year. It was a very, very poor tenure. Didn't even last a full season. And he's bounced around since then. He was the interim coach for Stanford this past year. And now he looks like he'll probably be the just next offensive coordinator. He's not a bad offensive coordinator. However, I don't think the Jets have a quarterback that can really run his system. At least, I mean, they don't have a quarterback that can run anybody's system on their roster. And then Greg Roman, just like, what are we doing? He's also not a great offensive coordinator. He was in Baltimore under John Harbaugh for about 4 seasons. A few years ago, he was okay. The last 2 years, he was with the Chargers under Jim Harbaugh. He just got fired. I don't know what the Jets were doing. Aaron Glenn, that guy is still employed. Just an inept organization, completely inept. But more news in terms of football. Eli Manning, for the second straight year, has not been elected to the NFL Hall of Fame. Look, Eli's got a very complicated Hall of Fame case. He 2 Super Bowls, beat Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, and both of them were Super Bowl MVP of both of those games. And the rest of his career was very mediocre, was always just like an average starter to me. It's a very complicated Hall of Fame case. However, if Bill Belichick isn't a Hall of Famer, with his 8 Super Bowl rings, Eli Manning, with his 2 Super Bowl rings and a otherwise mediocre career, by that standard, obviously shouldn't be, but we all know Bill Belichick should have walked into the Hall of Fame when he was still coaching. So I don't really know what to say about the NFL Hall of Fame anymore. But let's get to the main course of today's show. We're going to do a little NBA trade deadline preview. Trade deadline is approaching very, very quickly. It's in, I think, a few days. I think it's February 3rd, which is in like 4 days. But yeah, we're gonna talk about some trade candidates that could get moved at the NBA trade deadline. So first of all, just want to correct myself. The trade deadline is February 5th, not the 3rd. February 5th. I think that's Thursday. I actually believe that's a week from today. Yes, it is. So a week from today at noon is the NBA trade deadline. So it's in a week. Bunch of rumors going around right now. Let's get started. I have a bunch of names that I think are candidates, and we'll talk about, what I think will happen, what could happen, teams that could be interested. So let's get into it. The first name I have is Michael Porter Jr. I think Michael Porter Jr. is going to get moved. I just think if you're the Brooklyn Nets, like you suck. You are absolutely freaking terrible. You have to move this guy. Michael Porter Jr. is having the best season of his career. He's averaging 25 points a game and 7 rebounds, shooting 48% from the field, 39% from three, 84 from the line. And look, he's obviously kind of like, good player on a really bad team kind of thing. For his career, he's a 17 point a game scorer for his career. And he's been in the league for 7 years. He's averaging 25. If he gets traded to a contender, he's going to have a smaller role, won't have the ball in his hands as much, will not be averaging 25, I cannot imagine. But he's having a career year. He's been very good this year. He's always, I mean, look, when this guy is healthy for the most part, he's been very good. Been a guy, not the star we all thought he was going to be. He was coming out of high school. Obviously, he had a lot of injuries in college at Missouri. Denver takes him in the first round a bunch of years ago. We all knew, he was going to be a great player. He's turned into a good player when healthy, good shooter, can score, good wing defender, always solid glue guy. Like he was a perfect third star in that Denver team a couple years ago that won a championship. He struggled last year in Denver. I said at the time, I didn't think the Cam Johnson trade made a lot of sense for Brooklyn. I just thought Porter was a worse version of Cameron Johnson. But Denver sent out a first round pick. Brooklyn just got an extra first round pick. I didn't think Brooklyn needed it because they have so many from the Mikal Bridges trade, amongst other deals that they've made. But, his value is never going to be higher. He's only got 1 more year on his deal. He is 27 years old, but he's due almost $41 million next year. And you're not going to be good next year. There's no real point of giving him a 4 or 5 year extension for all this money if you're not going to even be competitive for a good amount of that deal. The reason to pay him, get what you can for him. So in terms of suitors, I think Detroit makes a lot of sense. Detroit right now leads the Eastern Conference. They are a very good team. Right now at 34-11, 6 game lead for the Eastern Conference, ahead of the New York Knicks and the Boston Celtics. They're a great basketball team. They're very good defensively. They could use another veteran in there. What a trade would look like. Tobias Harris definitely goes the other way to Brooklyn. Now he's a similar-ish player to Porter, not as efficient. At this point in the career, Porter's a much better player, but he's an expiring salary. That he'll go the other way, maybe, and then you're gonna have to give up like a guy like a Jaden Ivey or Alfred Thompson is a name that's been thrown around. I'm not sure they can get him, but his shot has just not come along through like we thought it would. We all know he's an ace defender. We thought at some point his shot would kind of develop. It hasn't to this point. Ron Holland's another young piece they have, so they definitely have the young pieces to easily do this trade. This isn't like Giannis where it's going to cost you 4 young players, all salary filler, and 5 first-round picks. Michael Porter obviously isn't that kind of player, but you got to give up something. Detroit, the Pistons are like every Detroit team in sports, love hanging on to their guys. You saw what the Lions did in football this year. That didn't work for them, but last year you have a breakout year. You end up being, what was it, the 6th team in the East. You give the Knicks a run for their money in the first round of the postseason. Now you take another step forward. You're the first team in the East right now. You have a chance to come out of the conference. The conference is very weak this year. Boston is a lot better than we thought they would fall off with Jason Tatum injured and pieces they lost. Hasn't happened, but still, like, the force right now is the Toronto Raptors, who are a good team. They're 29-20. They're a good basketball team, but, like, still come playoffs. I don't think anyone's, completely scared of the Toronto Raptors. But this is a chance for the Pistons to make a run. I think bringing Michael Porter Jr., bringing in another legit scorer, guy who can guard the perimeter, would be very, very helpful. So I think that makes a lot of sense. I do think he gets moved. You got to capitalize on this, and they should get at least a first-round pick back for him. Another name on here, I think the Memphis Grizzlies, it's just time to blow the thing up. Memphis is a very mediocre basketball team. Right now, they are 3.5 games out of a play-in spot. They're at 18-27. They are not a good team. Ja Morant, look, they need to trade him. He's caused problems off the court the last couple of years. He's always hurt. A lot of injuries the last few years. He's hurt right now. He was hurt, then he came back, and he got hurt again. Just a complete mess. They have to get something for this guy. And I know, you're still holding on to a couple of years ago, what he was doing. This is a guy who was the most improved player in 2022 when he averaged 27 points a game in his third season in the league. Was a top 7 MVP candidate that year. But he's not made an all-star team since 2023. That was the 2023 season was 3 years ago. He's been hurt for 3 straight years now, off the court issues. He is still 26 years old. That being said, it's just not going to work in Memphis. The problem is, I don't think Ja Morant is a bad player. When he is healthy, he is a good player. He's averaging 19 points and 8 assists this year for the Memphis Grizzlies. Those are not bad numbers. He's shooting 89% from the line, which is by far a career high. For his career, he shoots 77 from the line. He's by far, eclipsing that this season. It's really tough to build around a smaller player who doesn't play a lick of defense and can't shoot. He's a 31% three-point shooter for his career. He is shooting 23% from three this year. His attempts are down, less than 4.5 attempts a game. He was pushing 6 the last 2 years, for three-point attempts per game. But just, and I know a lot of people are going to look at, well, the Warriors put their own Steph Curry. Steph Curry's one of the 10 greatest players of all time. He's the best shooter of all time. Oh, the Knicks went to a conference finals with Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is also an assassin with the basketball in his hands. He can shoot the ball. Ja Morant cannot. Okay? Everyone was bringing up Allen Iverson. Well, Allen Iverson is probably one of the 5 greatest point guards I ever played a game. Some of the best handles the league's ever seen. Maybe the best handles the league's ever seen. Like, these aren't fair comparisons. So, it's just not going to work in Memphis. Look, you got, 4 first-round picks and a young player for Desmond Bane. Bane has had more value than Johnson at this point. The guy's always hurt, can't shoot the three. I just went through everything with Ja Morant. But you gotta try to move him. He's on that huge deal, but he only has 2 years left on that $200 or so million dollar extension. He's due $4.1 million next year, just under $45 million in 2028. So that's movable. What you'll get back someone to match the money. Maybe you get one decent young player out of it and one first round pick. I don't think his value is much more than that. Like, he's been linked to Toronto a lot. I'm not sure if that's that good of an idea. He's a problem in the locker room, always hurt, can't shoot. But everyone's been saying maybe Emmanuel quickly and some picks. Like, he's a better player than Emmanuel quickly. But quickly is a better defender than Ja Morant. He's a bit injury prone as well, but he isn't as injury prone as Ja Morant is. He's healthy right now. Ja isn't. I'm not even sure if I would do that if I was the Toronto Raptors. So, I'm not sure if he's going to get moved just because of he doesn't have a ton of value right now, and he's hurt right now. But Memphis, at some point, whether it's the deadline or in the summertime, is going to have to break this marriage with Ja Morant. Another Memphis player who's on this list is Jaren Jackson Jr. Look, Jaren Jackson Jr. is one of the best defenders in all of basketball, but his offensive game hasn't really come along like we've liked. Team is like, well, team is like we thought he could be, like a superstar. I mean, he's a good player. He's averaging 19 points a game, 5 boards, shooting 36 from 3, 47 from the field. He's a great player. He's very underrated. He's a defensive player of the year in 2023. He was a top 7 defensive player of the year finalist. Last year, he's been first team all defense twice. He was all second team all defense last season. Will probably be on one of the all defensive teams again this year. Still 26 years old, but again, Memphis is going nowhere. Tear this thing down. They've been, seem like they've been a little, less proactive in terms of trying to move him opposed to John Morant. Obviously, they were fine with moving Desmond Bain, but you can see on the return they got back. But his $205 million extension kicks in next year. So he's due $49 million next year. In 28, he's due 50.5 million. He's due 52 million in 2029. He's a $53.5 million player option. So he's got a lot of money on that deal. But he also, he's got a decent amount of control. He's got, under contract for 3 years plus a large player option, which he'll probably opt into. I mean, player salaries are just out of control in the NBA. Who knows what they'll look like in 3 years? I mean, we got guys making 60 plus million in 3 years. We might see guys making 70 million a year, 75 a year. It's just insane. But Jaren Jackson Jr., 19 point a game scorer, making 3.5 million. Yes, he's also an all defense guy, but that's still a pretty crazy number. But anyway, back on track. I'm not sure if he'll get moved. They should move him. They need to blow it up. He's got more value than John Morant does. Is he a better player than John Morant? At this point, who knows? But probably not. But for his career, he's an 18 point a game scorer. He's a former defensive player of the year, a 3-time all defense guy. He's averaging 19 a game. He averaged over 22 a game the last 2 seasons. He's had some injuries in the past. He's been a bit injury prone, but two-time All-Star Defensive Player of the Year, 3-time All Defense. He's having a good year this year. He's been relatively healthy. They should be able to get a lot back for this guy for a guy who has at least 3 years left on his deal. But they've been a little bit more clingy to him. They have to John Morant, so I'm not sure if they'll pull the trigger quite yet. They might want to see this thing out. I don't know what you're looking to see, but maybe they think, like, even if you make the plan, like, you're going to get clotheslined in the first round. That's the best case scenario. Another team that needs to blow it up is the Sacramento Kings. They are just an absolutely atrocious basketball team. They are the second worst team in the Western Conference, tied for the second worst record in all of basketball, along with the Indiana Pacers. The only team that are worse than them in the NBA are the Washington Wizards and the New Orleans Pelicans. They need to tear this thing apart. Sabonis, has been a lot of talks about Domantas Sabonis getting traded. He was hurt for a while. Now he is back. I have a feeling he's going to get moved. Look, he's a very good player. I think very underrated. Great offensive first big man for sure. He's another guy that's been linked heavily to Toronto. I think that makes a lot of sense for the Toronto Raptors. They need another big man. There's a reason that a lot of people were upset and confused when they drafted Conor Murray-Boyles with the 9th overall pick ahead of Kaman Malak, who's a highly touted big man coming out of I think Duke getting drafted by the Suns. I think the very next draft pick, actually. So look, Sabonis, this year, his numbers don't jump off the page. He's averaging 15 and 11, 53% from the field. Last year, but first career, 16 point a game score for first career. He averaged 19 last year. He's been an All-Star 3 times, been a top 10 MVP candidate twice. He was top 10 Defensive Player of the Year candidate last year. He's been the All-Third team twice in his career. He's a very good player. He doesn't want to be there. I can't imagine. He's 29 years old. Contract-wise, he's got 2 years left on his deal. He's due $45.4 million next year. He's due almost $49 million in 2028, and he hits the market. This seems like a goner. I mean, the Kings are so inept. Who knows? Maybe they wait till the summer, but I think he should get moved. Well, he definitely should get moved. Will he? I'm going to say yes. I think I could see him going to Toronto. Maybe, I feel like Toronto should try and keep Jakob Poeltl. If you have those two guys together, that would be useful. You may have to give him up, but I think it'll be something like probably quickly and maybe a guy like Murray Boyles, a younger player like that, and maybe a couple firsts, 1 or 2 firsts for a bonus. But I think he'll get moved. The Kings have to go in a different direction. A couple other Kings are on here. Malik Monk, another guy I think that will get moved. Not as highly touted. But he's a solid player. He is a former 6-man of the year runner-up 2 seasons ago. Probably would have won it if he wasn't hurt late in the season. He hasn't, his numbers are down this year, averaging 12 points a game, but he's shooting 45 from the field, 42 from three. He's shooting the three, exponentially better than he has for his career. He averaged 17 points a game last year. He also played a lot more last year. He was mainly a starter last year when he was healthy. This year he's been coming off the bench the whole year. Was hurt briefly. But he's still 27 years old. His contract is very, very manageable, especially in today's NBA with all the bloated salaries and bloated contracts. He's due $20.1 million next year, has a $21.5 million player option in 28. Who knows what happens between then and now? But as of right now, I would think he probably declines that and hits the market. Guys get overpaid in free agency every year. Seems like a guy, solid six man to have. 20 million I think is very fair, but he's a guy I think will probably push in 2 years to get a $30 million a year deal kind of thing. But I think someone will definitely take him. He's a one of the better six-man guards in the league. Good scorer, can shoot, holds on defensively. I think Malik Monk will get traded. And the last thing I have on here is DeMar DeRozan. DeMar, much older player. He is been in the league since 2010. This year 17 for him. He is 36 years old. Not quite the same player. Though he's had a great career. He's been an all-star 6 times in his career. He's been in second or third All-NBA guy 3 times. He's averaging 19 points a game this year. Shooting 50% from the field, 87 from the line. Only 33% from three. Rosen, I think can get moved because you know what you're getting out of him. Solid vet. Can be, like a second or third option maybe. Good scorer, not great, 3-point shooter, but can score very efficiently inside the 3-point line, makes his free throws. Not going to play a whole lot of defense, but you know what you're getting out of DeMar DeRozan. It's not a great look that he hasn't really won wherever he's gone. In Toronto, their ceiling was a conference semifinals exit. They traded for Kawhi to win a championship right away. Then he gets sent to the Spurs. He obviously was on the Spurs, and from the Kawhi trade, they weren't very good with him. He leaves, and they're able from after he leaves to rebuild, and now they're a contender. Second before he gets there, was the second seed in the Western Conference, makes the playoffs, and then all of a sudden, he's on the team, and they're one of the most mediocre teams of basketball. So he really has pretty much everywhere he's gone. They have not been a winning basketball team, at least not winning enough. And as soon as they leave, they get better. It's not a great look for him, but he's a solid player still. He's got one more year left on his deal next year at $25.7 million. They should be able to get something decent for him. The Chicago Bulls have a couple of guys. Nikola Vucevic, I think, is definitely going to get traded. I don't know why he hasn't been moved yet, honestly. Older player, but still a good big man to have. Averaging 17 and 9 this year, 51% from the field, 38% from three, 82% from the line. He's a great offensive-minded big. He's good for, almost 20 and 10 every single night. He is 35 years old, but contract is going to be up very shortly. He's a pending free agent. He'll definitely get flipped. Look at his values, what you're getting back is going to be a little bit limited because of his age. Now, he's a bit of a one-sided player, and he's a free agent at the end of the season, so he's a rental, but he'll definitely get flipped. A little bit more of a wild card in Chicago is Kobe White. So Kobe White's had a very intriguing career. Point guard was a high draft pick. First couple of years wasn't all that great, but the last couple of seasons has really broken out and turned into a very good player in the NBA. This year is averaging 18 almost 19 points a game, shooting 45% from the field, 36% from three. Was hurt at one point, but I think he's healthy now. He's last 3 years has been really good. This guy, flashed in his rookie year, then kind of regressed for a couple of years, but he broke out in 2024. He's still 25 years old. He's also a pending free agent. You wonder maybe the Bulls look to re-sign him because he's only going to be 26 years old. However, contenders are going to be looking at him in the summertime. He'll probably get a big deal in the offseason. I would trade him now. You're not going anywhere if you are the Chicago Bulls. You are the last team in the play right now. You're a game under 500. You've been a play-in exit like 3 years in a row. There's no point in trying to keep this core together. You have a couple of young pieces. Josh Giddey's a very good player. I assume I think is a very good player. Other than that, there is not a whole lot of young talent on that roster. Matas Buzel was first rounder a year ago, was pretty good. But everyone else should probably be expendable. Look, you got no draft picks back for Alex Caruso, DeMar DeRozan, or Zach LaVine. You gotta try and get some draft capital back for these two pending free agents. So LaMelo Ball is a interesting case. So he kind of informally asked for a trade a month or two ago. I don't think he's going to get traded. First of all, his value. I've never been a big fan of LaMelo Ball. I promise it has nothing to do with the whole ball pipeline. It has nothing to do with that. He was rookie of the year his rookie year. He's gotten better almost every year, but he's having one of the worst years of his career in his 6 year career. He's averaging 19 points a game and 7 assists, shooting 4% from the field, 36% from three. He's still very good. He's a good scorer. He's a great passer, a great facilitator, but he's always hurt. He's played more than 50 games in a season one time or twice. His rookie year, he played 51 games. And then he played 75 games in 22, which is his only All-Star berth. And he has not played more than 47 games in a season since. He was hurt briefly earlier in the year. He's been mostly healthy since. He's only 24 years old. And you look at his contract. He's got a lot of money left on about $203 million deal. He's due $40.7 million next year, $43.5 million the following year in 2029. He's due $46.3 million. If you're the Hornets, look, they've sucked for a long time. They have been playing a lot better this year. You're 3.5 games out of a play-in spot, so playing is possible, which will be a step forward for the Charlotte Hornets. You have some young talent on that team. Colin Knuble is either you're going to be him or Cooper Flag for the Rookie of the Year this season. For now, he's only 24. However, again, it's tough to build around him. A point guard doesn't play a whole lot of defense. However, it isn't like John Morant. He's 6'7". He's a much bigger guard, and he's a much better shooter than John Morant is. So I don't think they're going to trade him yet. I think they really need to take a beat in the offseason and really talk about this and be like, okay, let's make a decision on LaMelo Ball. And also, they probably want him to play as close to a full season as possible before they trade him. They'll get the most out of him. So I think they hold on to him this year, and then they will revisit a potential trade in the off seasons, trying to maximize his value. Another guy on here is Anthony Davis. So a lot of rumors are going around about this guy. You know the deal with Anthony Davis. Look, he's 30, going to be 33 years old in about a month and a half. And he's probably a Hall of Fame player. He's a 10-time All-Star. He's got a ring, though it was in the bubble. It's a very impressive ring. 5-time All-NBA guy, 5-time All-Defense guy. He's led the league in blocks 3 times. When he's healthy, he's still a very efficient scorer. Not much of a three-point shooter, but very efficient scorer inside of the three-point line. Great defender, one of the premier defensive players in basketball. Health. The guy's never healthy. He's played, since he got traded to the Mavericks, he's played 29 games. And he got traded, just over a year ago. He was traded, I think, on February 1st or 2nd of last year. That was the infamous Luka trade where he got traded to the Dallas Mavericks. So he's been there about a calendar year. And he has played 29 games for the Dallas Mavericks. Well, again, when he's healthy, he's a very good player. Like this year, he's averaging 20 and 11, shooting 50% from the field, and he's a good defender. But he's an older player. He is always hurt. His body is just so utterly cooked. I'm not sure what they're getting back. He's hurt right now. He got hurt in the beginning of the year. He'll be back in a couple of weeks. Then he has a setback. Then he has some other thing with his hand. I was gonna have he's getting surgery, and then he's not. He's trying to rehab it. But He's due 58 almost and a half million next year. Has like $62.7 million player option 2028, which I'm assuming he's going to opt into. No chance he sniffs down the open market at 34 years of age with his injury history. So I don't think they'll get a whole lot back for him. I know, I think there's been rumors of like his camp is pushing for a trade and then they aren't, and Dallas wants to move him, and there's all these rumors out there. I think his camp does want him to be moved. I just don't know what they're going to get back for him when he's currently injured. Is it going to be back for at least another few weeks, most likely, and even healthy? I mean, he's a older player. He's going to be 33 very soon and is always hurt. So I don't know what they'll get for him. And honestly, I think they're going to have to hang on to him. Just because I don't know what you're going to get for that guy because he's currently injured. As for the two Pelicans wings, Trey Murphy and Herb Jones, I think they're going to stay put. I'm hearing that unless you get like a Luka kind of offer for them, which you're obviously not giving up, or not a Luka. That's not a good comparison. Like a Giannis kind of offer, they're not going to get traded out, so that's not fair comparison. But look, Trey Murphy is really good. He's averaging almost 22 points a game, 6 boards, shooting almost 48% from the field, 36, almost 37% from three. He's having the best year of his career. He's still 25 years old. He's in the first year of a $112 million extension. I would honestly hang on to him. You need to reassess. He's been a little bit injury prone. I would, unless you get a crazy offer, I wouldn't trade him just yet. You need somebody to build around. By the way, Zion is not going anywhere. I've heard the very, very unlikely that they want to build around him. Herb Jones is probably a little bit more likely to be traded from the New Orleans Pelicans. He's a great defender. He was first team all defense last time he was fully healthy 2 seasons ago. But look, he's not much of an offensive player. He's averaging 9 points a game this year. He averages 10 for his career. He's only shooting 38% from the field, 30% from three. He's a excellent wing defender, one of the best in the league, but doesn't give you a whole lot offensively. As for Herb Jones, he's a little bit older. He's currently 29 years old. No, excuse me. No, I was looking at the back end of his deal. He is 27 years old. He's 27, so he's actually younger than I thought. But he next year his 3-year, $67.5 million extension kicks in. But that's not a whole lot of money in today's leagues. That's still very movable. I don't think it would be a bad idea to trade him, to be honest, but I don't think he gets moved. I think he will. Yeah, actually, next year, yeah, he's still on his current deal, which is he'll make just under 50 million next year, and then he has a 3-year extension kicking in 2027. We'll make over 20 million every season. I think he stays put another year. I could see maybe in the summertime they think about it. Next year's deadline, this will be an interesting conversation, especially if the Pelicans are still really bad, which they definitely will be. They don't have their own first round pick. They have to trade up for Derek Queen this year. So I think he stays put. A few more names on here. One is Lauri Markkanen. I feel like we do this every other week with Lauri Markkanen. He's obviously on that big contract with the Utah Jazz. But I don't think he'll get moved, but who knows at this point with Lauri Markkanen. Look, he's a good player. He's averaging 27 points a game this year. He's having actually the best year of his career. This is a guy, he was most improved player in his first year in Utah in 23, which is only all-star appearance when he averaged 25 points a game. He had another good year in 24. Last year kind of regressed a bit, was hurt. This year, though, he's been very good. Best year of his career. He's averaging 27 and 7, shooting almost 40% from the field, 36% from three, pushing 90% from the free throw line. He is a very good player. Look, he's not another guy kind of like Michael Porter Jr. Look, I think he's a much better player. Uh, he's a guy who, On a contender, he's a second or a third option. On a bad team, he's a first option. I think he fits there as a second or third option. Obviously, if he's not having the ball in his hand as much, he wouldn't average 27 points a game on a legit contender. But look, he's in the first year of that almost $200 million extension. He's due 46 million next year, 49, almost 50 million in 2028, 3.5 million in 2029. But Utah, they're not very good. They're not going to go anywhere. They were playing pretty well in the beginning of the year. They've kind of fallen back to earth since then. You have some young pieces. The Ace Bailey was a top 5 pick this year. I mean, obviously, you got Laurie Markkinen for Donovan Mitchell. But I would move him, but they kind of like pump like they're going to trade him, and then they don't end up doing it. So I think he will stay put. Another name is Jonathan Kuminga. This is more complicated. He obviously has made his feelings known for a couple of years when he wants to be traded. He was kind of forced to sign that deal in the offseason because he was a restricted free agent. Golden State didn't want to trade him. Look, this guy, he's averaging 12 points a game. He's shooting 32% from three. Look, he's still 23 years old. I think that there's a lot of potential for him to be very good. 2 years ago, he averaged 16 points a game. He's averaging like 25 for a good span of the year when he finally got playing time. But Steve Kerr, him and Steve Kerr don't have the best relationship. It's kind of the Steve Kerr didn't even want to draft him. He wanted to draft Franz Wagner back in 2022. These two need a divorce. Okay, they need both sides need to move on from each other, and I do think it happens. I don't think Golden State's going a whole really too far this year. Right now, they are the 8th seed in the West. It's pretty tight right now. They're only 2 games out of 5th. They'll probably at least make the play-in, but Jimmy Butler tore his ACL. He's out for the season. Steph isn't getting any younger. Nor is Draymond. That's an ancient roster. But hard to see them even winning a playoff series this year. I mean, depends on the matchup. They still have Stephen Curry. You still have a lot of experience. But maybe if you get lucky, you win the playoff series. But for a team that's won 4 championships in the last decade, a second or first round playoff exit means nothing to them. Last year was probably a failure of a season. You go out and spend the assets to bring in Jimmy Butler. You're a top 5 team in the conference and you lose them in the second round. Stuff's healthy. Is that different? Possibly, but it's the same. You can't change the past. So I think you have to move him. I mean, I think they should start trying to develop some sort of young core. With you would in a perfect world he'd be part of it with Brandon Podziemski and some of the other guys you have there, but the guy doesn't want to be there. It's been a mess. Trade him, get what you can from him, and just get end this just horrid relationship. He has a $24.3 million club option next year. I mean, I don't think it's a horrible idea to keep a guy like him on your roster at that clip, but for Golden State, he just hasn't produced, and I don't think at this point. So move him, let him be somebody else's problem, and you just have to move on. And another name I have on your Karl-Anthony Towns. So apparently, at times here it seems that Karl-Anthony Towns and the Knicks have been at odds. They haven't, whether it was Towns not really understanding his role on the team, to has liked that he hasn't liked that he's been involved in some trade rumors. Apparently last year him and Tibbs didn't really see eye to eye. Some of the players on the team behind the scenes apparently were frustrated with his lack of intensity defensively. And look, I'm not a fan of Karl-Anthony Towns. I love my Knicks, but Towns is probably, I don't think there's been a player that's played for the Knicks that's been like a legitimately good player. Like Towns was an all-star last year. Like he's the first Knicks player who's made an all-star team for Knicks that I legitimately do not like. Well, he drives me nuts. But this year he's averaging 20 points a game and 11 rebounds, 46% from the field, 36% from three. He's kind of an awful year. He got hurt in preseason. He played in the season opener even though he was hurt. He didn't want to let the fans down. Tried to play through the injury. Wasn't very efficient. He sat out for a bit, came back, and has been fine-ish, but just inconsistent. Like you know what you're getting at a Cap. Extremely talented offensive big man, but is a absolute liability defensively. He in terms of his contract, he's on a big deal. He's got a bunch of money left on that contract. I'm going to pull up right now. He pretty sure he makes the same amount of money as Giannis, which is absolutely absurd. But yeah, he's due 53.1 million this year. He's due $57 million next year. In 28, he's due $61 million on a player option. Can't imagine he'll opt out of a $61 million player option once he wants to take less money on a longer deal. But he's 30 years old. Now, I do think his value is a little bit limited. He hasn't had his best season. He's 30. He's overpaid, one-sided player. He's, hasn't really shown up in the postseason throughout his career. To be inconsistent. He's clashed with coaches throughout his career. He did with Tibbs in two different stops. Uh, seems like him and Mike Brown have been at odds throughout the year. Brown's called him out in press conference a couple of times. I don't really think they like each other, to be honest. At least Mike Brown, like, is a big fan of him. But I know there's first came out that they're looking to move him. Then it came out not going to happen. Now people were saying, the people within the league said even though when Nick said that, they don't believe it, that they think he could get moved. Now the Giannis thing is getting a lot of hype. Yeah, now Town doesn't like that. He's been involved in a lot of Giannis trade talks, and who knows what to believe anymore. But I don't think he gets traded for a player not named Giannis, because what the heck would be the point? Your only other legit big man is Mitchell Robinson, who is made of glass and is useless offensively, can't shoot free throws. So, um, I don't. If you trade for Giannis, cool, but otherwise, I don't see him getting moved. And by the way, I do think Giannis gets moved. I know he's injured, but Bucks came out and said they're listening to offers. Giannis doesn't want to be there. He's ready to move on. Bucks realize, yeah, we got to trade him, so I do think he'll get moved. Knicks appear to be the favorite, but Golden State is very involved. Miami is involved. Apparently, Minnesota is now talking to them, so we will see what happens. That's all I got for you guys today. Till next time, so long, and have a great day.